Christmas morning at our house was always loud and chaotic. Wrapping paper everywhere. My younger siblings tearing through gifts. My mother trying to keep some sense of order while my father sat in his favorite chair, drinking coffee, watching the chaos with quiet satisfaction. My name was Elise, and I was the oldest of 4 kids. At 28, I probably should have been hosting my own Christmas by now. But family traditions were important to my father, and when Dad said something was important, you listened. He was that kind of man. Strong, decisive, successful. He had built his industrial supply company from nothing, starting in a garage 30 years ago, and now he employed over 50 people. He sold steel parts, machinery components, bulk industrial supplies to factories and construction companies. His hands were always rough from years of working with metal and grease. And in his world, that was real business. Hard goods, tangible products, things you could touch and measure. I understood his world. I respected it. But it was not my world. And that Christmas morning, I was about to find out exactly what he thought of mine. My father's pride in his business was everything to him. He talked about it constantly. At dinners. At family gatherings. During holidays. He told stories about difficult clients he had won over, about deals he had closed, about competitors he had outlasted. His company was not just his job. It was his identity. And he had very specific ideas about what made a business legitimate. It had to be tough. It had to deal with physical products. It had to serve industries that built things, made things, moved things. Marketing was fluff. Consulting was nonsense. And anything that seemed too easy, too pretty, too focused on aesthetics instead of function was not real business. It was a hobby. Over the years, I had watched him dismiss entire industries with a wave of his hand. Interior designers, he would say, shaking his head. Playing with pillows for a living. Or event planners. Just glorified party coordinators. He did not mean to be cruel. He just genuinely believed that real work meant sweat and steel. And I was about to tell him I was starting a business he would definitely consider fake. After we finished opening presents, after my siblings had run off to play with their new toys, I pulled a small envelope from my bag. Inside was a business card I had designed and printed myself. Clean. Simple. Elegant. It read, "The Cedar Box, Curated Corporate Gifting." I had been working on this idea for months. Planning. Researching. Building a website. Sourcing artisanal products. I worked full-time as a client service manager at a busy logistics firm, handling vendor relationships and customer accounts. But at night and on weekends, I had been building something of my own. A corporate gifting service focused on high-quality, thoughtfully curated products. Not generic fruit baskets or cheap branded pens. Real, beautiful gifts that companies could give to their clients and employees. Gifts that felt personal and special. I handed the card to my father with a hopeful heart. "Dad, I wanted you to be the first to know. I started my own business." He took the card, turning it over in his rough, calloused hands. He read it slowly. Then he looked at me. And he snorted. Actually snorted. "A holiday hustle," he said, tossing the card on the coffee table. "Cute, Elise. But it is not a real company. It is a girl's hobby." The air went out of the room. My mother looked uncomfortable. My siblings were too young to understand the weight of what he had just said. But I understood. I felt it like a physical blow. A girl's hobby. Not a real company. I picked up my business card from the coffee table, my hands shaking slightly. "It is a real business, Dad. I have a business license. A website. I have already signed my first client." He waved his hand dismissively. "Everyone has a website these days. That does not make it a business. You are selling fancy gift baskets, Elise. That is not the same as running a company." He stood up, stretching. Look, I am not trying to hurt your feelings. I am just being realistic. This corporate gifting thing is fine for extra spending money. But keep your day job. You need something stable. I wanted to argue. I wanted to defend myself. But I knew it would not matter. He had already decided what my business was worth. Nothing. I gathered my things and left shortly after, claiming I had plans with friends. In my car, I sat in my parents' driveway and stared at my business card. A holiday hustle. The words burned themselves into my brain. Fine. If he thought it was just a hustle, I would hustle harder than he could imagine. I drove back to my apartment in silence. I lived alone in a small one-bedroom place across town. It was not much, but it was mine. I had turned my dining area into a makeshift office with a desk, a computer, and shelves full of product samples and packaging supplies. I sat at that desk and stared at my business card, the cedar box. I loved the name. I loved the concept. I loved everything about what I was trying to build. But my father's words kept echoing. A girl's hobby. Not a real company. I made a decision that day. I was going to prove him wrong. Not by arguing with him. Not by trying to convince him with words. But by building something so undeniably successful that even he would have to recognize it as real. I pulled out a notebook and started writing. Goals. Strategies. Target markets. I was going to use every single skill I had learned at my logistics job. Organization. Vendor management. Client relationships. Negotiation. Follow-through. I knew how to make businesses run smoothly. I just needed to apply that knowledge to my own company. The word hustle kept coming back to me. And slowly, it stopped feeling like an insult. It started feeling like a challenge. Like fuel. Fine, Dad. Watch me hustle. The next day, I went to work with a new focus. My job at the logistics firm was demanding but stable. I managed relationships with vendors and clients, making sure orders were fulfilled correctly, addressing problems, negotiating contracts. I was good at it. Really good. My boss trusted me with the firm's biggest accounts. But now I started paying attention to things differently. I studied our vendor partnership agreements. I looked at how we structured deals. I noticed what made suppliers want to work with us, what made them prioritize our orders. I learned about volume commitments and exclusivity clauses. I watched how small gestures, like consistent communication and on-time payments, built trust with suppliers over time. All of this was knowledge I could use. I started spending my lunch breaks researching the corporate gifting industry. Who were the major players? What were the trends? What did companies actually want when they ordered gifts? I found that most businesses hated the process. It was time-consuming and the results were often disappointing. Generic baskets. Cheap trinkets. Nothing that felt special or made an impression. There was a gap in the market. And I was going to fill it. I built my business model carefully. The cedar box would not just be about the products. It would be about the entire experience. Beautiful presentation. Reliable delivery. Personal touches. Custom notes. Thoughtful curation. I would treat every order like it mattered, because to my clients, it did. These were gifts representing their companies, their brands, their relationships. They needed to be perfect. I focused on reliability first. I created systems for everything. Order tracking. Inventory management. Quality control. I set up partnerships with local artisans who made beautiful products. Small batch chocolates. Hand-poured candles. Artisan soaps. Locally roasted coffee. Each item was carefully selected, not just for quality but for the story it could tell. I designed packaging that looked expensive but was actually affordable. Simple craft boxes with custom stamps and twine. Nothing flashy. Just elegant and memorable. My first real client was my old college roommate, Sarah. She worked for a small tech startup and needed gifts for their 12 employees. I gave her a friends and family discount, but I delivered as if it was $1 million account. Perfect packaging. On-time delivery. A personalized note. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Sarah called me the day the gifts arrived. Elise, oh my God. These are incredible. Everyone in the office is obsessed. Where did you find these products? I talked her through each item, explaining the local artisans I had partnered with, the thought behind each selection. She was thrilled. A week later, I got a formal thank you note from her CEO. The gifts from the cedar box were the highlight of our year-end celebrations. Professional, thoughtful, and beautifully executed. I framed that note and hung it above my desk. It was proof. Proof that this was not just a holiday hustle. It was a real business providing real value. Sarah referred me to 2 other companies. Small orders, but I treated them with the same level of care. Each one led to glowing reviews and more referrals. By March, I had a steady stream of clients. Not huge numbers, but enough to know this was working. I was building something real. Meanwhile, I had not talked to my father since Christmas. Not out of anger. I just had nothing to say yet. I was waiting for the moment when my success would speak louder than any words I could offer. In April, I went to my parents' house for Sunday dinner. It was a family tradition. My mother cooked, and we all gathered around the table, catching up, arguing about politics, telling stories. That particular Sunday, my father was in a bad mood. Summit Grove is raising their prices again, he complained, stabbing at his roast beef. 3rd time in 2 years. My mother nodded sympathetically. My siblings ignored him, used to his business rants. But I paid attention. Summit Grove Farms? I asked casually. He looked at me. Yeah, my main gift supplier. They do premium corporate gift items. Branded baskets, artisan products, that whole thing. I use them for my top clients during the holidays. He shook his head. But they're getting too expensive. Problem is, they are the only professional outfit in the region. Everyone else is amateur hour. I filed that information away. Summit Grove Farms. His main supplier. The one he called professional. The only one he trusted. Interesting. Very interesting. After dinner, I went home and immediately looked them up. Their website was impressive. High-end products. Beautiful photography. Testimonials from major companies. They were exactly the kind of supplier I needed. But how could a small, new business like mine possibly work with them? They probably required huge minimum orders. They probably only dealt with established companies. Still, it was worth a shot. The next morning, I drafted an email to Summit Grove Farms. I kept it professional, direct. I introduced myself as the owner of the Cedar Box, a corporate gifting service focused on small to mid-sized companies. I explained that I was looking for a supplier partnership and thought their products would be perfect for my clients. I sent it not expecting much. Maybe they would ignore me. Maybe they would send a generic, "We will keep you on file" response. To my surprise, I got a reply that same day. It was from the owner himself, a man named Charles Peterson. Ms. Walker, thank you for reaching out. I am always interested in innovative distribution models. Would you be available for a brief video call this week? My heart nearly stopped. The owner himself wanted to talk to me. I replied immediately, suggesting a time. We scheduled a 30-minute call for Thursday afternoon. I spent the next 3 days preparing. I created a presentation. I researched their company history. I practiced my pitch until I could deliver it in my sleep. This was my chance. Not just to secure a great supplier, but to prove that my holiday hustle was professional enough to partner with the companies my father respected. The video call with Mr. Peterson was both terrifying and exhilarating. He was probably in his 60s, with gray hair and kind eyes. He sat in what looked like a home office, surrounded by photos of farms and products. "Tell me about the cedar box," he said, getting straight to the point. I took a breath and launched into my pitch. I explained my vision. Corporate gifting for companies that wanted quality and personalization, but could not afford to order in massive volumes. I showed him my client list, small but growing. I explained my business model, reliability, presentation, and relationship building. He listened carefully, nodding occasionally. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. "You work in logistics, correct?" he asked. I nodded. "Client service management. I handle vendor relationships and fulfillment." He smiled. "That explains a lot. You understand the operational side. Most people in this industry focus only on the pretty products and forget about the logistics that make it all work." He leaned back in his chair. "Here is my challenge, Ms. Walker. Summit Grove has focused on large corporate accounts for years. High volume, consistent orders. But we have been approached by many smaller companies that want our quality but cannot meet our minimums. We have turned them away because we did not have a distribution model for that market." He looked at me directly. "You might be that model." Mr. Peterson explained that Summit Grove was looking to expand into what he called the boutique corporate market. Companies with 50 to 500 employees who wanted premium gifts but could not order in bulk. "You already have those connections," he said. "You are already building those relationships. We have the products and the production capacity. This could be a genuine partnership." He offered to send me a sample kit of their products. I would test them with my clients, provide feedback, and we would see if the partnership made sense. I thanked him, trying to keep my voice professional even though I wanted to scream with excitement. The sample kit arrived a week later. It was incredible. Gourmet foods, artisan goods, beautiful presentation. Everything I had been sourcing from multiple small vendors, Summit Grove had in one place. And the quality was outstanding. Better than anything I had found on my own. I immediately reached out to 3 of my current clients and offered them an exclusive preview of new products. The response was unanimous. "Where have you been hiding these? This is exactly what we have been looking for. Can we order these for our entire sales team?" Within 2 weeks, I had placed 3 orders with Summit Grove through their trial program. Each one was perfect. Exactly what I had promised my clients. Exactly what they needed. In June, Mr. Peterson called me personally. "Elise, I have been watching your orders. Your clients love the products, but more importantly, you handle every order like a professional. Your communication is clear. Your timelines are realistic. You manage expectations." He paused. "I want to discuss your operational model in more detail. Would you be willing to meet in person?" We met at a coffee shop halfway between our cities. I brought a folder full of documentation. Spreadsheets showing my order volume and growth projections. Client testimonials. My process documents. My quality control checklist. I was prepared to defend every aspect of my business. Mr. Peterson flipped through my materials, asking thoughtful questions. How did I handle difficult clients? What was my inventory management system? How did I ensure consistent quality? I answered each question honestly, showing him the systems I had built. After an hour, he closed the folder and looked at me. "You are more professional than companies 10 times your size," he said. "I have a proposal for you." He explained that Summit Grove wanted to create a new division specifically for boutique corporate clients. They would call it their Boutique and Corporate Solutions division. And they wanted the Cedar Box to be their sole referral partner. Any small to mid-sized company that contacted Summit Grove directly would be referred to me. In exchange, I would get exclusive pricing and priority fulfillment. I could barely breathe as I listened to his proposal. This was huge. This was everything. There is one condition, Mr. Peterson said. You have to maintain the level of professionalism and reliability you have shown so far. We are putting our reputation in your hands. Our clients need to have a perfect experience every time. I looked him in the eye. That is exactly what I have been building from day one. You have my word. We shook hands. He promised to have his legal team draft a contract. I drove home in a daze, pulled into my apartment parking lot, and finally let myself cry. Happy tears. Relieved tears. Tears of pure vindication. My father's main supplier, the one he called the most professional in the region, had just chosen to partner exclusively with my holiday hustle. The contract arrived 2 weeks later. I read every word carefully, then signed it. The Cedar Box was now the official boutique partner of Summit Grove Farms. Over the next 2 months, my business exploded. Summit Grove started referring clients to me. Small companies. Mid-sized firms. Organizations that needed quality gifts but had been turned away by larger suppliers. I fulfilled every order perfectly. My reputation grew. And so did my confidence. By September, my client list had tripled. I was working evenings and weekends, barely keeping up with demand. But I loved every minute of it. This was not a hobby. This was a real business. A successful business. And it was built on everything my father's world had taught me, even if he did not realize it. Reliability. Quality. Following through on promises. Treating every client relationship like it mattered. I had not told my father any of this. He did not know about Summit Grove. He did not know my business had grown. He did not know anything except what he had decided on Christmas morning. That my business was cute but not real. I was waiting for the right moment to tell him. And that moment was coming. In early December, I got a phone call from Mr. Peterson. Elise, I wanted to give you a heads up. We are making some changes to our client allocation for the holiday season. My stomach tightened. What kind of changes? He explained that due to the success of the boutique division, Summit Grove was reallocating some of their production capacity. They were limiting orders from some of their traditional large volume clients to make room for the growing boutique market. Some of our long-term clients are not happy about it, he admitted. But the numbers do not lie. The boutique market is more profitable per unit, and the clients are easier to work with. He paused. Your partnership has been a major factor in this decision. I felt a chill run down my spine. Who are you limiting? A few of our industrial clients. Companies that order in bulk but expect rock-bottom pricing. My father's company was an industrial client. My father always complained about pricing. Oh no. Actually, Mr. Peterson continued, one of them shares your last name. Walker Industrial Supply. Any relation? I closed my eyes. That is my father's company. There was a pause. Well, Mr. Peterson said carefully, this could be awkward. I did not know what to say. Mr. Peterson filled the silence. For what it is worth, your father's account has been difficult for years. He constantly negotiates for lower prices, orders at the last minute, and expects priority treatment. We have been considering reducing his allocation anyway. He sighed. But I did not realize he was your father. Does that change things for you? I thought about it. Really thought about it. My father had dismissed my business without even trying to understand it. He had called it a girl's hobby. He had made me feel small. But this was not about revenge. This was just business. His business practices had consequences. Summit Grove had every right to allocate their resources where they were most profitable. No, I said finally. It does not change things. You should make the best business decisions for Summit Grove. My relationship with my father is separate. Mr. Peterson sounded relieved. Thank you for understanding. We will be notifying affected clients next week. We hung up and I sat in my apartment, staring at the wall. This was going to be complicated. Very complicated. But I had not done anything wrong. I had just built a good business. A real business. The kind of business that suppliers wanted to work with. If my father's company was being deprioritized, that was because of his own approach, not because of anything I had done. The next Sunday dinner was tense. My father was stressed, barely eating, complaining about work. Summit Grove is giving me problems, he muttered. They are saying they have to limit my holiday order. Something about capacity constraints. It is ridiculous. I have been a client for 15 years. My mother tried to soothe him. Can you find another supplier? He shook his head. Not at this late notice. And definitely not with their quality. My top clients expect Summit Grove products. This is going to make me look bad. I stayed quiet, pushing food around my plate. My siblings talked about school. My mother changed the subject. But I could feel the weight of what I knew. This was just the beginning. Mr. Peterson had said they were making my partnership exclusive. That meant my father's access to Summit Grove was going to get even more limited. And he was going to find out eventually. I just did not know how or when. I left dinner early again, claiming I had work to catch up on. Which was true. The holiday season was my busiest time. Orders were pouring in. I was working 12-hour days, coordinating with Summit Grove, managing client expectations, ensuring every gift was perfect. I loved it. But I was also exhausted. And I was dreading the moment when my father would learn the truth. That moment came sooner than I expected. On December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, my phone rang. It was Mr. Peterson. Elise, I wanted to let you know before the official announcement goes out. Summit Grove's board has approved making your partnership fully exclusive. Starting January 1st, all our boutique and corporate clients under 500 employees will be fulfilled exclusively through the Cedar Box. I felt my heart stop. What does that mean exactly? He explained. Summit Grove would continue to fulfill large industrial orders directly. But everything else, all the corporate gifting business, all the mid-sized companies, all the personalized orders would go through me. You have proven this model works, he said. You have better client relationships, better communication, better service. You are the future of this part of our business. It was the validation I had been working toward all year. But it also meant something else. My father's company would definitely be affected. They were on the border of the size limits. They might be pushed into the Contact the Cedar Box category. The announcement will go out to all clients tomorrow, Mr. Peterson said. Christmas Eve. I am sorry about the timing, but the board wanted it finalized before year-end. We hung up, and I sat on my couch, processing. Tomorrow was Christmas Eve. Tomorrow my father would find out that his main supplier had a new exclusive partner. And eventually, he would find out that partner was me. Christmas Eve dinner at my parents' house was a tradition. The whole family gathered. My mother made her special roast. We exchanged gifts. We played board games. Usually it was joyful and loud and fun. But this year, I walked in with a knot in my stomach. My father was already in a bad mood. I could see it in the way he sat at the head of the table, his jaw tight, his eyes dark. You look stressed, Dad, my younger brother said. My father took a drink of his beer. Work problems. Nothing that concerns anyone here. My mother shot him a warning look. Tom, it is Christmas Eve. Can we not talk about work? He ignored her. Summit Grove sent out an announcement today. They are restructuring their client partnerships. Apparently, they have some new exclusive partner handling all their mid-sized corporate business. He shook his head. They are basically forcing me to go through a middleman now if I want their products. It is insulting. After 15 years of loyalty. My stomach dropped. He knew about the partnership. He just did not know who the partner was yet. Who is the partner? My mother asked. My father pulled out his phone and scrolled. Some company called. The Cedar Box. The room went completely silent. Everyone looked at me. My mother's eyes were wide. My siblings looked confused. And my father just stared at his phone, not understanding why everyone had stopped talking. Then, slowly, he looked up. His eyes met mine. I saw the moment it clicked. The moment he remembered. The Cedar Box, he said quietly. That is your company. I nodded. Yes. He set his phone down carefully. You are the exclusive partner Summit Grove chose? I nodded again. Yes. The silence was suffocating. My mother looked like she wanted to say something but could not find the words. My siblings were frozen, sensing the tension but not understanding it. My father's face went through several emotions. Confusion. Disbelief. And then, slowly, something that might have been anger. You took my supplier, he said, his voice flat. I shook my head. I did not take anything. Summit Grove approached me about a partnership. They saw an opportunity in the boutique corporate market, and they chose to work with me. He stood up from the table. Do you have any idea what this does to my business? I have clients expecting Summit Grove products. I have been ordering from them for 15 years. And now they are telling me I have to go through my daughter's little hobby company. Little hobby company. The words hung in the air. After everything. After the partnership. After the growth. After Summit Grove choosing me over dozens of other companies. He still saw it as a hobby. I stood up too, my voice steady. Dad, it is not a hobby. It never was. Summit Grove chose me because I built a professional business with excellent client service and reliable operations. They chose me because I treat every order like it matters. He laughed, but it was not a happy sound. You have been in business for less than a year. I have been working with Summit Grove for 15 years. And they're choosing you over me. I looked at him directly. Maybe they are choosing me because I communicate clearly, pay on time, and do not constantly negotiate for lower prices. Maybe they are choosing me because I made it easy for them to do business with me. My mother stood up, trying to mediate. Let us all just calm down. This is Christmas Eve. We can talk about this later. But my father was not done. Did you plan this? Did you target my supplier on purpose? The accusation hurt. No, I said firmly. I built my business one client at a time. Summit Grove approached me because they saw the value in what I was doing. I did not even know you used them until you mentioned it at dinner in April. He stared at me. And you did not think to tell me you were partnering with them? I felt my own anger rising. Why would I? You made it very clear on Christmas morning last year that you did not think my business was real. You called it a holiday hustle. You dismissed everything I was trying to build. My voice shook. So no, Dad. I did not tell you. Because I did not need your approval. The words hung between us. My mother had tears in her eyes. My siblings looked uncomfortable. And my father just stood there, his face red, his hands clenched. Finally, he spoke. I think you should leave. The words were quiet, but final. I nodded. Okay. I grabbed my coat and my purse. My mother followed me to the door. Elise, he did not mean it. He is just shocked. Give him time. I hugged her. I know, Mom. But I am not apologizing for building a successful business. I drove home through Christmas Eve traffic, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. I had known this would be hard. But I had not expected it to hurt this much. When I got home, I found an email from Mr. Peterson. Subject line, congratulations. I opened it. Elise, I wanted to personally congratulate you on this partnership becoming official. Summit Grove has been in business for 40 years, and this is one of the best strategic decisions we have made. You have built something remarkable. Merry Christmas. I read it 3 times. Then I printed it out and hung it on my wall. Next to my first thank you note from Sarah. Next to my business license. Next to everything that proved this was real. I spent Christmas Day alone. It was sad. It was quiet. But it was also peaceful. I did not have to defend myself. I did not have to justify my success. I just was. Successful. Professional. Real. 3 days after Christmas, my father called. I almost did not answer. But I did. Elise. His voice sounded tired. Hi, Dad. There was a long pause. I talked to Mr. Peterson. He told me about your partnership. The whole story. I waited. He said you have been the best partner they have ever worked with. He said your client service is exceptional. He said you built systems and processes that companies 10 times your size do not have. Another pause. He also said my account has been difficult. That I have been demanding and price-focused. That they were considering limiting my orders before you ever came into the picture. I did not know what to say. My father continued. I owe you an apology. For Christmas. For calling your business a hobby. For not taking you seriously. His voice cracked slightly. I was wrong. You built something real. And I was too stubborn to see it. I felt tears welling up. Thank you, I managed to say. But I am not apologizing for the partnership. I earned it. He laughed, a real laugh this time. I know you did. That is what makes it hurt. You are better at this than I am. We talked for another hour. Really talked. About business. About what I had learned. About his own mistakes. It was not perfect. There was still hurt. But it was a start. That next year, my business grew beyond anything I had imagined. The exclusive partnership with Summit Grove opened doors I did not know existed. Clients trusted me because Summit Grove trusted me. My revenue tripled, then quadrupled. I hired my first employee, then my second. By the following summer, I had to rent actual office space. My dining room office was not big enough anymore. My father and I rebuilt our relationship slowly. He started asking me for business advice, which felt surreal. I helped him improve his communication with suppliers. He helped me understand negotiation tactics. We were not perfect, but we were talking, respecting each other. The following Christmas, the whole family gathered at my parents' house again. This time, the atmosphere was different. My father stood up to give a toast. I want to say something about Elise, he started. Everyone looked at me. Last year, I said something stupid. I called her business a holiday hustle. I dismissed it as a hobby. He looked at me directly. I was wrong. She built a real company. A successful company. A company that outpartnered mine with one of the best suppliers in the region. He raised his glass. I am proud of you, Elise. And I am sorry it took me so long to say it. Everyone raised their glasses. I felt tears on my cheeks. This was the moment I had been waiting for. Not the apology exactly, but the recognition, the respect, the acknowledgement that what I built was real. Later that evening, after dinner, my father pulled me aside. I have been thinking about something, he said. My business is steady, but it is not growing. And honestly, I am getting tired. I have been doing this for 30 years. He looked at me. I want to retire in 5 years. I want to spend time with your mother. Travel. Relax. I nodded. That sounds great, Dad. He took a breath. I want you to consider taking over the company. Or at least merging our operations. Your logistics expertise, my client base. We could build something together. I was stunned. A year ago, he had called my business a hobby. Now he was asking me to take over his legacy. I need to think about it, I said honestly. He nodded. Take your time. But know that I see you now. I see what you built. And I respect it. That night, I drove home thinking about his offer. About how far we had both come. About the business card I had handed him on Christmas morning, full of hope and fear. The cedar box was no longer a holiday hustle. It was a company that had earned the respect of suppliers, clients, and even my father. The journey had been hard. The rejection had hurt, but it had also made me stronger, made me prove to myself what I was capable of. As I pulled into my apartment, I thought about that phrase. Holiday hustle. And I smiled. Because I had hustled. I had worked harder than I ever thought possible. And I had built something real. Something valuable. Something that even my father's world had to recognize. That was my Christmas gift to myself. Not his approval, but my own unshakable knowledge that I was exactly as capable as I believed. And that was worth more than any validation he could give.